The film is set some 350 years ago, after the Shimabara Rebellion in feudal Japan, a time when the ruling military government, the Tokugawa shogunate, annihilated a force of 37,000 Christian rebels in the opening scene. The leaders of the rebels and their leader, Amakusa Hiro, are placed on spears on the battlefield. The Tokugawa soldiers then attend a theatrical performance in front of Shimabara Castle to celebrate their victory, but none of them realize that a demonic force is at work in the area. Just as the main performer enters the stage, the castle is struck by a powerful lightning bolt. Every Tokugawa soldier is killed in the blink of an eye. It is later revealed that this was caused by Amakusa's soul, which he has now reincarnated into the body of the main performer. This film is based on true events. However, the Christian leader is angry at God for abandoning him in the war, so he calls on Satan for help. He avenges this loss by promising to return his soul soon. Satan grants him the power to resurrect the dead and turn them into evil spirits. Amakusa then goes to a place named Kumamoto. He visits the grave of Totoki Hosokawa, a samurai who was killed during the time the current Amakusa regime came to power, and then performs magic and summons the spirit of my wife Grace, revealing that she was a great beauty and a loving wife, but her husband slept with other women, even bringing them home. She was always faithful to her husband while devoutly practicing her Christian faith, but her constant devotion made her husband uneasy, and he frequently beat her. We also know that when the Tokugawa army began marching towards the Totoki province was called to fight against them, the invading force finally won, and Totoki was killed. On the battlefield, Grace heard this news. She was so depressed that asked a soldier to end her life, but even in the afterlife she could not make peace. With her husband having abandoned her to death, her spirit persists, yearning to see Totoki once more. In the present, Amakusa promises to make his dream come true, in exchange for her helping him destroy the Tokugawa regime. Grace readily agrees, and is then reincarnated as an evil version of herself. The scene then shifts to a cave where the legendary swordsman Mosher reflects on his life. He founded the Twin Sword School, fought in over 60 battles, and was never defeated. Despite all this, he is still jealous of Lord Taijima and his eldest son, Jub Taijima. He was the chief swordsmanship instructor of the Tokugawa regime and was renowned throughout the land for his skills. Old Musashi is now near death, but still cannot let this jealousy go. Amakusa and Grace, they will help him duel Lord Taijima. Mosher is surprised by their appearance and tried to attack Amakusa, but he was so sick that the sudden movement exhausted him. Finally, the old man collapsed to the ground and began to breathe his last breath on earth. Taking advantage of his weakness, Amakusa repeated his offer again, and Mosher finally accepted. Then Grace kissed him on the lips, and the old man was reborn in a hideous yet powerful form, while in Nara, a monk and a great spearman named Inen cross paths with two young girls. He suddenly dreams of sheathing his weapon and brutally ending their lives. It is evident that Inen is secretly a sadist who enjoys abusing beautiful women, but this time he restrains his violent impulses, allowing the duo to leave. A few seconds later, Inen sees a slender female figure wearing a demonic mask near. This mysterious figure knows his dark fantasies and openly mocked him for it. Enraged, the monk threw his spear at him, but the figure disappeared into thin air. Upon seeing this, he assumed that his dark desires were playing tricks on him. Despite decades of practicing Buddhism, he was still unable to rid himself of his filthy thoughts. He then did the unthinkable by taking the spear and stabbing it into Inen's stomach as he fell to the ground. Writhing in pain, Amakusa and Mosher rose to their feet. The female figure also reappeared and was revealed to be none other than Grace. Her beauty combined with Amakusa's enticing words convinced Inen to accept reincarnation as a demon. Elsewhere in the land, a young man named Kirin Maru returned to his village. He belonged to a clan of ego ninjas that lived far away from the rest of the kingdom. The young man was also kind. However, Jeb's friends, who are about to visit, will be visiting the village in a few hours. A while later, the tribe is ambushed by the government-backed Koga ninja clan. The entire village is burned down and everyone is mercilessly killed. Kirin Maru proves to be a skilled fighter and manages to escape into the nearby forest. He is quickly pursued by an equally skilled female ninja from the Koga clan, but just as she is about to end his life, the reincarnated demons appear. In the forest for Shun, who is now an incredibly powerful and openly brutalizes the woman, Ninja, who then enjoys tormenting her in a terrifying manner while the other demons look on with emotionless faces, while Kimaru, seriously injured, lies nearby. Breathed his last, and Makusa then approached him and made him a tempting offer that in exchange for his help, he would have the chance to avenge his family. Kirimatu had nothing to lose, so he accepted and was immediately reborn. Being a demon, after a while Ju arrived at the village and found it completely ruined. He called his friend and began to investigate the surrounding forest, but soon he was confronted by, with a confused look on his face, Kirimaru and 3 others riding towards him. Ju quickly jumped onto a tree branch and was nearly impaled by an Inen spear, then looked at the HED company mocking him devilishly before leaving. The demonic Mosher promises challenge him later in an arena more suitable for his now complete team. Amakusa began his plan to infiltrate the enemy. The first step of the castle was to take Ayuna, leader of the Tokugawa shogunate, under the control of. It is revealed that he is the 4th shogun of the ruling dynasty, but the latter is just a young man. When visiting a shrine in the town of Nikko, Anna meets a beautiful woman, claimed to be Atsana, but she was actually the devil Grace in disguise. The young man shogun was unaware, and he was immediately infatuated with her beauty, so that night, he asked his right-hand Azuman to find the girl and bring her back to the palace. However, the high-ranking official received some really strange news about Atsana, and her parents reported that the girl had gone crazy and had run away from home a year ago. They thought it was very unlikely that Shogun had seen her there. Daughter in Azu's shrine then analyzed this information in his room and concluded that the girl must be a spy. So he asked one of his men to kill her immediately without them knowing. Amakusa and Karatu sneaked into her room. The evil duo then brutally killed Ayu and her man, leaving their lifeless bodies hanging from the roof. On the other hand, Atsana sneaked into Aon's palace in Nikko. She used her black magic, escaping the guards and going to his bedroom, where she strategically undressed in front of him, was enough to seduce the young shogun, after which the duo proceeded to his bed and made passionate love. A few days passed and news of Ayu's death reached the capital. High-ranking officials were concerned about the mysterious death. They were also concerned about the shogun's sudden decision to extend his stay because of his beauty. Meanwhile, Atsana continued to distract Ayuna from her duties with her beauty, but not everyone knew. To his father of dark magic, Taijima sensed that there was something sinister about the stranger, so the old man ordered a special katana from a famous blacksmith Muramasa earlier in the week. One night, while inspecting the blade, he received a letter from his son, which detailed the young man's encounter with 5 ghosts near the ninja village of Egan, enough to confirm Taijima's suspicions of the involvement of evil spirits in the recent incident here. So he plans to kill Otana and claim that he has lost his sanity. He will then commit seppuku because he is dying of terminal cancer. Later, as Taijima heads towards the Neek Palace, he is interrupted by Inen the demon, who brags about his new power and challenges him to a duel. Taijima proves to be too strong. Inen, despite his old age, cuts off the demon's head with a swift strike of his new sword. Amakusa and Mosher, those who watched the match, were impressed by the old man's skills. However, Taijima was now exhausted and his internal organs were failing, leaving him vulnerable. Amakusa took this opportunity to probe the old man's heart and see his deepest desires. He then revealed that Taijima considered Jub to be the best swordsman in Japan. He had always wanted to duel his own son just to see who would win. So Amakusa offered him reincarnation, and the chance to fight his son in exchange for his help was consumed by the desire to challenge himself against the old man. Jub accepted the offer after Taijima returned home and sat in his apartment, as if nothing happened, only also returned from the trip later. That night, he was eager to see his father, and discussed everything he saw, but as he approached the old man, Jub sensed something was wrong. Taijima slowly turned his head around his eyes. Now there was a ghostly light. Then he attacked his son at lightning speed, but somehow avoided the attacks and fled to a secluded sanctuary. Amakusa performs satanic rituals to place a curse on Tokugawa's crops. Then the scene shifts to Edo, where farmers gather outside the governor's house and beg the guards to spare them this year's taxes, as all their crops are black. However, the guards refused, leading the already frustrated crowd to protest the shogunate's taxes. In the ensuing chaos, a guard mercilessly beat a farmer with his stick. The poor man died on the spot, enough to terrify the crowd for a moment. A few days later, Karim Maru was walking nearby when he suddenly saw a beautiful girl in front of a grave. The young man was immediately drawn to her beauty and approached the grave. It was later revealed that she was Omitsu, the daughter of the farmer who died in the previous protest, and despite being a demon, Kimaru began to have feelings for the orphan girl. On the other hand, Jub sought out Mamasa, a famous blacksmith who was ostracized by the community, who believed that his swords lacked grace and contained evil magic. So Ju goes to his hut and convinces him to forge a sword that can destroy the evil spirit in his mind, and realizes the orphan girl is slowly turning him back into a human, so he entices him to indulge his lust rather than love the girl. Then Kimura goes to Omitsu and tries to force himself. He tears her clothes, but can't completely give in to his lust. He then lets her go and starts crying. Remembering all the things he did, suddenly goes there and faces his old friend. A young ninja sees this as an opportunity, repents of his actions and begs for to end his suffering. However, Jub urges him to regain control of his conscience by fighting the darkness within. Meanwhile, the Tokugawa shogunate organizes a lavish hunting trip in Nikko. A group of angry farmers interrupt the hunt to protest the high taxes that were collected to fund the event. However, Atsana and Taijima, who are in the company of hunters, manipulate Anna, then orders his men to round up all protesters and kill them on the spot in 4. At the end of the day, Governor Nikko crucifies the executed peasants on a hill. The remaining villagers are forced to execute, witnessing the brutal display of power. Amakusa then takes this opportunity to cast a dark spell on the gathered crowd. He incites a bloody riot among the peasants, eventually killing the governor. He then rallies them into his army to go to Edo and overthrow the shogun. While all this is happening, Muramasa finishes forging the evil sword Jub. In the next scene, Kimaru tries to escape with Omitsu, but Amakusa catches him and brutally finishes him off. At this point, the entire area between Nik and Edo is ablaze as Amakusa's forces advance towards the capital. A heartbroken Omitsu then takes his lover's body to a nearby fire to accidentally set it on fire. Ju is also there and he vows to avenge his best friend's death. After a while, he gets his chance when Musashi appears, where the old sword master challenges him to a duel on a nearby beach, and the latter accepts the next day. Juet takes up his evil sword and confronts Mosher on the sea. The veteran swordsman imbued with satanic magic is incredibly powerful, but Job was trained by his father. Since the age of 3, he has completely dominated Mosher, killing old man Jub once and for all, then heading to the capital to eliminate the remaining members of this evil group. Are things starting to deteriorate rapidly? For the Ogawa shogunate, the peasant uprising continues to advance towards the capital. General Atuna finally comes to her senses after seeing his kingdom in chaos. But it is too late because Grace is still disguised as Atsana and takes him hostage. She and Taijima set fire to the palace, killing almost everyone in the shogunate at that time. Grace has completely lost her mind and begins to regard Atuna as her ex-husband. She scolds him for leaving. She must die, and pulled him into the flame. Thus the story of the Tokugawa dynasty ended abruptly. Moments later, Jub arrived at the burning palace to fight the evil force's Buddhist prayer symbol. He confronted Taijima. The father's son, Duo, then engaged in a fierce battle inside the burning room of Edo Castle. Initially, the old man used his satanic powers to break Jub's evil sword, but as he charged forward, Jub resisted his father's momentum and dropped him to the ground. He then snatched Taijima's Mamasa sword and slit his throat. His father was now dead. Confronts Amakusa. The Christian leader is impressed by his swordsmanship and offers to join the dark side, but the young man refuses, preferring instead to fight the demons. A struggle ensues where Amakusa puts up a brave fight, but he is no match for Jub's agility and is eventually beheaded. However, as the credits roll, Amakusa's seizure begins to appear. Cut off his head and laughed. He swore would continue to live as long as his humanity existed before disappearing in the flames. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Leave a comment about your favorite movie and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.